morning, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Gannett. All the lights are currently lit here on track. And it is go, go, go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Boyman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome back to another round of the PCF2 Championship. My name's Tom Knight, and alongside me is Alex Heron to take you through all of this evening's endeavours in a title fight that is currently separated by just one singular point. Tonight at the Netherlands is looking to be a real spicy race. As I said, we're here to take you through the action. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. We're here. We're getting in the Christmas spirit, of course, because this is the final round before the festive break that we have coming up. And we, of course, are in the Netherlands at Zandvoort. Very exciting indeed. And as you said, 1 point separates the championship total. So who is going to lead the championship going in to that little break we have?
Certainly is going to be an interesting one. See how our drivers negotiate our festive break. But before too long, let's have a look at Zandvoort. 2.646 miles and 14 turns and 2 DRS zones to overachieve them in terms of overtaking action. I completely messed that up, but we're going to go with this anyway. And I'm so looking forward to today's race. Aren't you, Alex?
I really am as well. I love Zandvoort personally. I mean, never really the greatest racing in real life, but in sim racing, we always tend to get a little bit of a barn burner around here. 18 drivers will start today's grid. And as the drivers are coming out, shall we have a quick look at the standings page before we get underway? And as you can see, the standings are incredibly close, and the closest battle, of course, is Riccardo Benzoni and Angelo Di Sezio, who are separated by 1.57 and 56 respectively. But Nelson Alves, who has started the season so well, both Williams started the season so well, have dropped down to third and fourth, with Nelson Alves on 50 points and Tope on 44. They're looking to gain some ground before the festive break. And then we've got Jan, Luca Rapassa, Seisman, your next three, followed by Ben Marples and Daniel as your top 10. It is still a very close championship, TK, and the question I have, are we going to see a driver that got promoted up to F3, obviously at the middle of last season, to F2? Are they going to be, leading the championship going into our little break?
Well, that's certainly the question that could be on our screens and on your screens at home now, as we do join for the action. Drivers just getting their pre-warm-up lap set and ready to go. Gabriel Quintino being the only driver not to head out the pitch this early, and I have a feeling that's due to a disconnect. So 17 of them have headed out. And speaking of drivers, let's head across and get this full screen for everyone.
And certainly will, as Harvey Cohen is beginning his first flying lap here around the Zandvoort circuit, round the banked corner before DRS opens up and we go into the first heavy braking zone. It is a tough corner, this one, and you get a nice slipstream and a nice exit out of the corner, slingshotting your way before into the right-hander, and then another banked left-hander. Such an interesting set of corners in the opening part of Zandvoort before we raise up the hill. Keep climbing the gears, keep climbing the revs, and then of course you slam down the gears into sixth and hold it in sixth. Keep the acceleration nice and high. Don't run too far out on the left-hand side there. Now it's an awkward right-hander here because you can run out on those curves on the left, but Harvey has kept it nicely within the white lines. Now keeping the power in as Harvey switches to the left now, getting the power back on here with DRS wide open once again. keeping the power on before you slam on the brakes once again. Down into fourth, keeping it on to the left, but not touching the gravel. Now getting the acceleration back on before one final corner into the right-hander. And now you pull the gears, you press the DRS, and you use the rest of your ERS you have left. Round the bank corner, you pull the gears, and you find what lap time you have achieved. And Harvey Cohen sets a 1:08.1 as his first banker, but it's instantly beaten by Toppe, which is instantly beaten by our championship leader, Riccardo Benzoni.
Beautiful lap from Riccardo Benzoni, gets himself well and truly set up in this qualifying session. Everybody else behind him starting to put their laps in as well, as we do keep an eye on a few drivers who have dived into the pit lane after invalidating what I can only assume were their first runs here at the Zandvoort circuit. Lilian Doba, I'm not going to try and pronounce that last name, apologies. Lilian up towards the line, P9 in the Papaya McLaren at the moment.
Here's Coulson with 1:19.6 there. I assume he's made a mistake or he's done a double cooldown lap, because I wouldn't say that's a representative lap time of the Ferrari down in 14th place. But we've had 4 drivers, as you mentioned, TK, get to set lap times. 3 of them invalidated. One of them hadn't even come out of the pits just yet. Any surprises in that top 4? Not really. Both Mercedes up there once again. Luca Rapassa was looking quick last weekend, if I remember correctly. Liam Stevens up in 6th place as well in Alpine. So that's a pretty good result so far for the Alpine driver.
Yeah, so far so good for both the well, at least one of the Alpines, of course. Sixten Linthart, I think, has some time to find down there, basically at the bottom of the timing charts, if we exclude Tius Korsman's early runs. But Angelo D'Ortenzio will be very happy with that opening run. He's only a couple of tenths off provisional pole position, and I wonder if that could explain why Daniel went into the pit lane at the end of last lap. Maybe it could have been something to do with internet connection, or maybe something more sinister. But fortunately, he's back in the lobby and ready to go again.
Yeah, he certainly is. As Coulson crosses the line now, goes 11th fastest, so he's improved on his lap. Gabriel Quintino, as you mentioned, just going for his first lap, so he's going to be slightly out of sync for the rest of the drivers, TK. Now, what can that, as a driver, what can that affect in terms of their run plans and what their plan was for qualifying?
It's a tough one for them to try and figure out, because they don't have the flow of following every single driver at the moment. They'll quite often encounter a lot of drivers on their outlaps. You can see them starting to peel in and out of the pit lane at the moment. And once you kind of run through some of the drivers that may be on their their out laps, you'll equally have drivers where you're on your in lap, other drivers are trying to set their hot laps or their out laps, and it puts you out of sync with the entire rest of the session. And I think you just have to do your best to try and mitigate that on a really narrow circuit like Zandvoort here. I think it's going to be an interesting one to see how our drivers compensate for that.
Yeah, it certainly is. And they probably will only get the 2 laps in. Now, of course, as you may have noticed, the cars are in ghost mode. Now, don't think that's a mistake by the lobby host. That is because we have to run with cars in ghosted form during qualifying because of the slipstream power in this year's game, which means, unfortunately, we will have a lobby restart coming up at the end of this qualifying session. But it does help our drivers as well, means they don't have to worry about traffic as much, but it can still affect the drivers. I mean, you see a car in front of you, no matter if it's ghosted or not, it's still going to surprise you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a rather off-putting scenario, which is why still in the PSGL rules, they mandate drivers get out the way. Gabriel Quintino going 6th fastest there, 1:08.1 for the Rebel. Yeah, fantastic lap on the opening, just 0.005 of a second slower than Harvey Cohen on their first attempt. Leo Lund and Keanu Lundhart will be looking to do the same as they round the final corners. Now, the Ferrari somewhere stuck in this middle sector. Won't be too bad, but let's see where Leo Lund manages to put himself for the first time of asking. P7 just behind Gabriel Quintino, almost identical in terms of lap time, in fact.
So it's such a close grid once again. F2 has been fantastic this year in terms of close grids, but a circuit like this where there isn't really that many areas of mistakes, similar to something like Austria, but slightly more braking zones. Keanu Lundhart goes 11th fastest there with a 1:08.246, another good lap time.
Yeah, lap time's coming thick and fast. We approach the 11-minute mark and we haven't seen much carnage or chaos. I would be potentially expecting that later on in the Grand Prix as we wait and see how this race is going to develop. But at least in qualifying at the moment, just over, well, now exactly 11 minutes to go. We've got maybe 2 or 3 runs left in our drivers. See what they can try and pull out the bag and see who's going to take that provisional pole position spot. If you're watching along at home and you're thinking, oh, these guys don't know who's going to be provisional pole position, well, let us know in the live chat who you're here supporting and who you think is going to be on the top step once we end this qualifying session.
Yeah, and I think we'll be keeping an eye on that as well, because I'm going to be curious who's going to be getting pole position. Of course, the last pole position before we go into a brand new year. Of course, 2025 is just around the corner in real life. These drivers will be a year older. TK, you'll be a year older in 2025.
By definition, yes, but by common courtesy and maybe everything else that the UK follows, probably not.
No, but the world is a year older.
Sure.
Getting philosophical up in the F2
Philosophical.
stream. Yeah, you're there. One of those words. As we're back to the qualifying action, we've got about a bit of a lull here as people are just setting their second laps, because usually this would be sort of the penultimate lap of qualifying, but this is kind of like their second basic lap, to be honest with you, because they need they're going to get 4 laps in.
Yeah, I think or at least the drivers that were set out nice and early will probably get those 4 laps in. I think the 4 drivers that weren't able to set their opening lap times may struggle with that. One of the drivers that certainly almost will get 4 laps in is Riccardo Benzoni. He's heading through the second sector at the moment, and I'm interested to see what his split is going to be.
But according to that first sector time, he was 2 tenths down, 2.5 tenths down in the first sector.
Wonder if he's lost a load of time. Well, he's gained.
Well,
he's lost a load more.
He's 4 tenths down in the middle sector. I mean, I kind of expected these guys to be close on lap times and not really see that much improvement, but that's quite the loss of lap time. Maybe the track hasn't gripped up as much as he was expecting on this second run. He will be coming into the pits, I imagine. And yeah, understandably, he will. Top 8, I believe, did improve because he's gone 3rd fastest.
Yeah, I think he has gone faster. Luca Rapassa on a lap at the moment, rounding that final beautiful turn 14. The banking makes it so dramatic and puts a lot of weight through the bodies of our drivers, and it is provisional pole position for Luca Rapassa, 107.946. 0.02 of a second quicker than Riccardo Benzoni could muster up, and so far it is the VA driver taking the front row.
Those Mercedes, once again, like we saw in Silverstone, looking very quick here in qualifying, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing if they can keep this pace going into the race. Of course, I'm sure Mercedes will be hoping Angelo's the one that could be pulling themselves throughout the grid, because if you remember in Silverstone, Angelo had a horrendous qualifying, TK. Didn't even finish, I believe, in the points, if I remember correctly, or maybe just finished 10th.
Yeah, I think in that it's been an interesting one.
Certainly has. Now, the 2 Williams drivers, they're also having an interesting time with Nelson Alves down in 12th place. This man was dominating the opening parts of this championship, but I believe in the last few races, I don't think he's finished a Grand Prix, or at least finished in the major points-paying positions.
I mean, if you look at the standings, how much they've deteriorated from those opening rounds, it really shows maybe the downfall of Williams here in PCF2, an almighty rise of maybe the Haas team and even the Mercedes as well. If you look at it, they've had some almighty race results in the last few runs. I think they'll be looking to extend that as we head into the Christmas break. Maybe we'll see a shine in the second half of the season.
Yeah, well, you'd hope so. I mean, they're going to need to improve. Nelson Alves down in 12th place, Top A in 4th. Let's see what Nelson can do in this middle sector. Only improved by 17 thousandths of a second. Now, in any normal session, TK, that wouldn't be a massive improvement. But depending on how much he's improved in the first sector, that could be huge.
Certainly could. And of course, you can see on your screen just how tiny the gaps are between our drivers. They are minuscule, could barely fit a cigarette paper between the two of them. He will run up towards the line though. Where's he going to go? 7th place, and I think that's a little bit better for the Williams.
Well, 7th place very quickly, but he's gone down to 8th, now 9th place, as Gabriel Quintino and I believe Keanu Lundhart went a little bit faster than him. Obviously, someone else we should point out as an outlier here, TK, is Jan up in 6th place. I don't think we mentioned him.
I don't think we have. It's been a bit of a sneaky qualifying session for Jan as things stand in that Aston Martin. Beating out his teammate, who's pretty much non-existent here this afternoon. One of the 2 drivers that hasn't been given a reserve seat. I'm trying to figure out who the other non-reservist would be, but my mind is going slightly blank here.
What, in terms of names we don't recognise?
No, just drivers that don't have a teammate. It's the other McLaren.
Yes, there's no other McLaren this afternoon. And Tudor, a name I don't think I've recognised before, is going 8th fastest.
Certainly is indeed. I think, yeah, one of the reserves that has stepped in for this afternoon's or this evening's races, depending on whereabouts you are in the world. Making his way through the first sector. We'll see where he looks on that split. I think he is on a recharge lap. Yeah, he's on a recharge lap.
Yeah, he's just finished. He's just finishing on 9th, so that's an improvement for him. Sergio Sabrino also jumping up into the top 6, with Harvey Cohen jumping up into the top 7.
Benzoni's improving.
Benzoni is improving and improves enough for provisional pole as it stands with 5 minutes on the clock. The Haas driver returns to the top of the timesheets by 40 thousandths of a second.
See what our drivers do. There was someone just in the middle of the start pit straight for about half a second there as they flashed off our screen. But, well, it's Haas at the moment, followed by 2 Mercedes, Luca Rapace and Angelo D'Ortenzio. Of course, they're both Veloce Academy drivers who have shown great promise in the last few weeks, opening from not necessarily the best season opening, but looking to finish it strong. Of course, Riccardo Benzoni, we have to talk about this, DNF'd in the first round of this season, and that's what could have been a really, well, poor start by anyone's standards. But to come back from that and now leads the Drivers' Championship heading into the festive break, an almighty recovery.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, he has really put in some amazing performances, to be honest with you. Luca Rapace, by the way, is on his, I believe, what could be his final lap here, and he's matched his first sector time. He needs to find some time somewhere to get close to Riccardo Benzoni. But has Luca Rapace got Benzoni's number this afternoon? He did very well in Silverstone. Can he do another good job here this afternoon? Going down towards the middle sector now. Let's see what his middle sector time is. It's only 3 thousandths of a second up, TK, and he's hit the gravel there on the inside.
He's got to find a lot of time in this third sector, which is increasingly more difficult because you only realistically have those 2 corners to find time. You can't find a great deal through the banking of 13 and 14. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but he is into the pit lane, so I think he's going to look to go again.
Yeah, certainly is. I mean, I don't think he would have improved that lap time if he had stayed out on it, so I think getting a brand new set of tyres is probably the best option. Tope, on the other hand, is on a lap. Let's see what he does. Basically matches his first sector time, maybe a little bit slower.
Yep, he does. Let's see what he can do in the second sector. And just to bear in mind, now drivers can start to use the absolute minimum fuel loads they can do. They won't necessarily have to worry about getting back to the pits in time, so they can run basically a standard fuel mode on minimum fuel on their outlap. Basically get that car as light as they possibly want, because that's what's going to be important in these final few sessions, or final few seconds of this session. And it's a purple middle sector for Tope.
Yeah, it certainly is. Very good middle sector for the Williams driver. Can he get himself a little bit further up the timesheets, or is he coming into the pits for a brand new set of tyres? Nope, he's coming in. Brand new set of tyres. Has he got the time? It's a very short circuit. I imagine he will.
I reckon he will. 3 minutes left on the clock. 1 minute 7, 1 minute 8 to get round on a flying hot lap. Maybe double that in terms of a slow out lap. That means he's still got about a minute to get his pit crew to service him. That is more than enough time to get in and out again. So the question now remains, who's going to take provisional pole position? Who's it going to be out of this colossal group of 18 drivers? Who's going to be on that top stop? Who's going to be starting first, Alex?
Ian Gordondorp.
Wow. I think that's who I predicted last week. So I've now been forced to choose someone else.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Luca Rapace.
Well, as I've said, Mr. Gordondorp, he's just started his flying lap here, as a few others are on their laps. Nelson Alves being one of them, just going through the first sector there, and he's improved by 6 thousandths of a second. I'm going to keep an eye on Mr. Gordondorp as you follow Nelson Alves.
We'll do indeed. See what they can do in the second sector. We'll flick back between Ian Gordondorp because he's not far off his first sector split as well. Although I think he's recharging his battery, so I wonder.
He's backed off.
Yeah, he's going to look and go again.
Corner. Made a mistake corner 1, decided that he would be better recharging than going again. Nelson Alves, on the other hand, is improving. He's in 14th place right now. Is his run of qualifying going to continue here? And that is not what he will be wanting, especially considering he has a chance to gain some more points to his championship rivals. Can he cross the line and improve from 14th place? Nelson Alves crosses the line, and he's only 10th.
Not ideal for what he'd like to see. Riccardo Benzoni, on the other hand, improving through the first sector, nearly a 10th and a half.
Nearly a 10th and a half in the first sector. Riccardo Benzoni is on it. Angelo just behind him on a lap as well. But I think Angelo's also backed off. He's not improving either. Has he backed out? I think he's not going to make the line, is he?
He might just be able to. We've had Liam Stevens retire in the pit lane. That was to be expected, but let's see what Benzoni can do. He's into the final couple of corners now, Alex. He's got 2 to navigate. Of course, the cars will be ghosted in front of him. He won't get a slipstream towards the line, but can he improve his domain at the top of our timing screens? He runs up towards the line, and he can. It's a 107.750. That is nearly 2.5 tenths separating himself and Luca Rapassa. The 2 Mercedes drivers will now set off on their mission to try and hunt him down.
They will both make the line just for Ricardo Benzo. Well, sorry, just for Luca Rapassa and for Angelo Detenzio. Kean Gordondorf, on the other hand, is still on his lap. He's going through the middle sector now. Purple middle sector for the Red Bull racing car of Kean Gordondorf as the 2 Mercedes are setting off on their lap. He's coming around the final corner now. Mr. Gordondorf, can you prove me right and put your car on pole position? One final corner to go. DRS still aligned. Can he stop Riccardo Benzoni from pole? He can put it on the front row, and that could be a cracking lap indeed. But it's down to the 2 Mercs now.
Rapassa's improving through the first sector. I wonder if Angelo Detenzio is improving through the second as well. Let's see what their both splits are going to be as they come up towards the second sector timing split. 52,000 of a second quicker for Luca Rapassa. That's not going to be enough to take provisional pole position. Angelo's going slower through the first sector, slower through the second sector as well. And this is not what he'd want to see.
Oh, Rapassa's invalidated. Rapassa will not get pole. He'll start third at best in this qualifying session. It's down to the other Mercedes of Angelo Detenzio. Can he get himself on the front row, at least with his championship rival? That's where he'll want to be. Well, Kean Gordondorf's for the party. Angelo crosses the line, and it's only 4th fastest, which means Riccardo Benzoni is on pole position, unless Korsman can do anything about it. He's backed out on his lap, which means the Haas driver of Riccardo Benzoni is on pole position for the Dutch Grand Prix.
He certainly is indeed. What a fantastic qualifying we've just seen. It all came down to the wire, and I'll tell you what, I thought a couple of drivers might have been able to pip out Riccardo Benzoni, but alas, not to be. Riccardo Benzoni, of course, tops our timing screens and will start in P1, nearly 2 tenths clear of any other driver. Kean Gordondorf and Luca Rapassa starting second and third, respectively. Angelo Detenzio, top 8, Jan Tudor, Sergio and Harvey Cohen and Keanu Lutart start as your top 10. Leo Lund, Sixten Lintart, Gabriel Quintino, Nelson Alves, Liam Stevens, Lillian, Tias Korsman and Daniel round out your complete top 18.
I think that might be the biggest qualifying margin we've seen all year in F2. I mean,
I think you might be right.
I think, as Nathan just said, 2 tenths around Zandvoort is quite an accomplishment. I mean, it's not easy, this circuit. I mean, as we said, we've only seen minor gains usually around this circuit. But TK, you know what probably gave Riccardo Benzoni the edge?
I would love to know, Alex. What do you think gave Riccardo Benzoni the edge?
Before we do this, TK, I need to ask you a question.
What's the question?
And, you know, I keep seeing things that every week we do these, you know, sponsored bits for PSGL, and I think people think you're cutting me off before I get to say what we're sponsoring.
What are we sponsoring?
Well, I can't say it because apparently that's what causes it to cut off. So
right.
I'm gonna say it now.
Okay.
And all I'm asking is that you're definitely not the one cutting me off.
No, not at all. It must be. It might be like just a bad translation to Twitch or something.
It could be, yeah. Right, we'll try it today. So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we are sponsored by G. Please say that worked this time. I hope. Come on, guys. Did it work?
Alex got his full sentence out on my side.
Yeah. I mean, I heard it.
Yeah, I also heard it.
Something's going on here.
No, yeah.
We need to investigate this. I mean, how are the beautiful people at home meant to know what we're doing? It's fine. You know what? We'll have a chat with. I bet we'll talk to Connor about it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure
You know
sure
who
it's
I blame
something-
more than anybody else?
Who?
JGM.
You know what? So do I. I think it's JGM's fault.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to go on Twitter right now and at JGM?
1150.
Yeah, and say why does Alex's ad always get cut off? Then he'll know exactly what you're all talking about. So make sure you go do that because I'm sure he's not busy at all.
No. I mean, he's not. What could be more important than PSGL F2? Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's on the off season, isn't he? He doesn't have to worry about it right now. So it's all good.
He's not a busy
but anyway, yeah. Back to our F2 race going on. Of course, we are just in the midst of a lobby restart right now. Now, going back to obviously the standings, we have a quick look at the standings page before we talk more about it. Of course, Riccardo Benzoni has put on pole position. Now, is there an extra point for pole? Have I forgot? Am I correct about that, or am I thinking of something else?
You're making me think here. That's a very good question. I'm going to say yes.
I think there is one. So if that is correct, then it's
2-point margin heading into
2-point margin
the race.
Nelson Alves did not qualify well again. And he is the next closest challenger, followed by Tope. So Tope has the chance of taking over his teammate here. You know, Nelson Alves can come through the pack, but it isn't easy to overtake around this circuit. But something that is possible around this circuit, which we've seen quite a few times recently anyway, is a little sprinkle of rain.
Very, very true. It quite often will cause a little downpour in the Netherlands. I partially hope it doesn't, because if my frame rate was anything to go by on Friday night, it doesn't seem to like the rain at the moment.
Yes, there appears to be some issues with FPS and rain, but hopefully we'll see an entertaining Dutch Grand Prix anyway. Now, of course, if we have a quick look at the calendar before we move on to the main race as well, as you can see, we've gone through our first 8 races here. And sorry, we don't actually have a race before our festive break. We were wrong.
I looked at the calendar earlier and it said we did. Hold on, have I looked at the wrong calendar?
Have you looked at the wrong calendar? Because if we,
I've looked at the wrong calendar.
Ah, well,
I
that's
was
the
looking
case.
at the PlayStation one.
We do apologise, everyone. There is a race next time, and I believe neither me or TK will be here for it.
No.
So there'll be 2 reserves. I imagine it will be Sam and someone jumping in for F2, or maybe Sappy and
Sappy will probably take it.
Yeah, and then Sam and someone else will do F3, I imagine. Yeah, one of us. Yeah, I was confused as well, but hey, it's all good. So yeah, of course we got the Dutch Grand Prix now, and then we go off to Saudi Arabia in Jeddah, and then of course we have our festive break, and then of course we got the next half of the season, which is Japan, Vegas, and Bahrain. So really, we've only got 4 more rounds after this round today.
We do. It's a real interesting one to see how the season's going to be settled. Of course, we've had, well, I'll say we'll have 2/3 of the season already completed. We've got 1 more to go. Of course, Jeddah, and then we've got 3 more rounds just to finish it off. Nathan has just said maybe his return. We're not the people to ask for that. We just talk about stuff.
Yeah, we don't make that decision. But I am friends with JGM, so maybe I can, you know, on behalf of him, I'll give you permission to return, Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this does better than E-Series anyway, so you get better views for it.
Oh, dig, 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 dig.
I'm only messing.
I'm only messing.
Or am I? Anyway, we're not far away from getting going with the race once again. Just a reminder of how our track map looks like for this afternoon. If you just are joining us after qualifying, 14 turns, 2.6 miles and 2 DRS zones to assist all of our drivers in their overtaking shenanigans. Now that the DRS and slipstream has been re-enabled, the slipstream has been re-enabled once again, and that will be interesting. 18 cars are going to take to our field, get themselves ready to go, and well, Alex, we've seen who's qualified on top. Who do you reckon is going to come out on top in the race?
And that's an interesting one. Now, obviously, I imagine the bookie's favourite is Riccardo Benzoni. Obviously, starting on pole position, the man in second place is not his main championship rival, but can be a bit of a handful. And I'm going to say Kian Gordendorf is going to win the Dutch Grand Prix.
I say that's a fairly solid prediction in terms of the title champion or the championship. Words are completely failing me. In hopes of the race results this afternoon, I think anything can and possibly will happen when we head to the race scenarios. And just a reminder of how our driver lineups look before the season started. Liam Stevens 6th, of course, in the Alpines, and you can read the rest for yourselves. Pick out your favourite drivers. I believe there has been a few driver changes for various reasons. I mean, Gregory's out of the Red Bull. From what I understand, he was the only driver punished in last week's stewards findings. Everybody else came out as no further action. But thankfully, we are almost ready to go, Alex. And I'm looking forward to this. 36 laps of the Dutch Grand Prix. 36 laps where we are going to be praying for rain.
Praying for rain indeed. Luca for the win. Well, there you go. Early prediction in for Luca. I mean, Riccardo Benzoni surely has to be the favourite going into this race. But we said that last week as well in Silverstone. I think he started third, if I remember correctly, and didn't go on to win the race. Obviously, that alternate strategy didn't work out for him as well as the other strategy did. So I'm interested to see what happens here. Of course, the Zandvoort Grand Prix is very different to the British Grand Prix. Different kind of circuit. And, it looks a little overcast here at the Dutch Grand Prix. Now, of course, we are near the ocean, so the weather can change quite rapidly. If there's any engineers in chat, do let us know what the weather is going to do. Or are we in for an overcast? Because we had overcast in Silverstone, remember, and it really changed the tyres heat cycle.
And it did, and we saw a lot of drivers potentially maybe playing it more cautiously than the others. I can't see any wet or intermediate tyres kind of standing outside, which is sometimes quite the typical assumption for wet races like that. And Nathan, if you want to predict Kian Gordondorp for the win, maybe spell his name right.
Yeah, I mean, at least I can say it right.
It's probably one of the only names you can say right.
Well, yes, I mean, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at saying the names right. It's a learning curve. Angelo De Sensi, however, I've only just managed to get that name. I think I said a name completely wrong all of last year, and no one called me up on it until the final round.
It's going to snow around lap 10. Source, trust me.
Source, trust me. And here we go. We've got the lights coming on here for the Dutch Grand Prix. It's 5 lights on, and we're underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. And it's a good start from our pole sitter, Riccardo Benzoni, who's going to lead us into the first corner. And Kian Gordondorp, it might lose out on second place here with Luca Rapassa up the inside there, wheel to wheel through the first sector. Can Luca Rapassa hold this one out? He's going to have to go around the outside of the banking. Is there going to be room for the Mercedes driver? You damn right there is, as Luca Rapassa moves himself up into third place, and now Angelo's going to challenge him. The soft tyres on this opening lap are working wonders compared to the mediums.
Beautiful opening moves from our front few runners. As you said, the soft tyres really firing up off of our start line. The medium runners don't seem to be able to respond to any single one of the calls that's being sent their way, and we're seeing that in Kian Gordondorp as he's dropping positions hand over fist. Kiana Luntar and Liam Stevens both losing out positions further back as well. The Alpine trying to hold off Nelson Alves, but as you said, the soft tyre runners with an almighty advantage at the start of this Grand Prix.
It's unusual to see so many soft tyre runners in a Grand Prix, as we see Lillian go around the outside of Keanu Lundhart there on the end of the final sector as we race down towards the end of lap 1. Sergio Sabrino, are they going to look around the outside of the banking to take 7th place away from Jan, as Angelo is going to move up into 3rd, and he makes his move stick. And Angelo, the Mercedes, 2nd and 3rd now, as Angelo will chase down his championship rival, who is currently leading the Grand Prix with Luca Rapassa, his teammate, in 2nd. But the question is, TK, will you want to be as Luca Rapassa? Is he going to be one to play second fiddle? Maybe he thinks he can win this one.
Well, I think that's what he's hoping for at the moment. Angelo Dortenzi has managed to make the move on Kian, but he's not able to try and hold off the runners behind him. Look how close Kian and Tudor have been all through that first sector. I wonder if Angelo's a lot quicker on the straights, and this is why they are starting to suffer. And as Reckers has just said in chat, I wonder if they're trying to get maximum pace before any rainfall could be coming their way. That's certainly an opportunistic move. Maybe they're on the border of the mediums and the softs to when that rain could be expected, but our front two have really run away with this. Angelo was already out of DRS range there for about half a second.
Yeah, and the fact that people have decided to go no hard tyres does make me think we are going to get some form of rain in this Grand Prix. Have we had a little bit of a stream stoppage there, TK, or is that on my end?
I think that's on your end.
Okay, it looks like your stream is completely frozen myself, so I'll quickly restart and carry on like nothing happened.
Everything's still going well. Luca Rapassa, though, 3/10 off the back of Riccardo Benzoni. He's making moves hand over fist here at the course of this Grand Prix. I wonder how long it's going to be before he potentially tries to make a move on our race leader. We're only on lap 3 at the moment. This is progressing extremely quickly because it's all about who finishes first at the end of lap 36.
Yep, that is what matters, and I have just restarted your stream. There's a Discord problem if anyone was interested. Rapassa is right up behind, and Angelo has somewhat pulled back into that DRS. Of course, DRS enabled after the end of the first lap nowadays, rather than 2 laps after the restart. So it's a lot easier for you to make those ERS and DRS overtakes. Lillian has not had, well, it started making moves and then fallen down to 15th. So it was going well, and now it's not gone well, and they've outbroke themselves there. It's going to allow Sixth Minhart to basically dive round the outside and up into 14th place, and Lillian is well, not enjoying this at the moment. Something's gone absolutely wrong in that McLaren.
Certainly would have looked that way. Luca Rapassa with the DRS assistance easily into the lead of this Grand Prix. Ascend though from Tudor on their sister team. The V Cub sent one down the inside of turn number 1. Corky and Gordondorp napping, and Tudor up to P4 here. Excellent move down the inside later on the brakes, and he says thank you very much, good night, and that is my P4 you're having.
Yeah, and Tudor driving fantastically well here in the RB, and I'm not mistaken, I don't think we've seen him so far in F2 this year. And if we did see him in Australia, me and TK weren't here, so we do apologise, but I don't recognise the name.
I recognise the name, but I can't remember where from. Harvey Cohen makes up another position down the inside of Jan in the Aston Martin. The soft tyre runners are absolutely rejoicing at the moment because they've got heaps more grip than their medium running counterparts, and I think this could be an interesting call from the medium runners. They'll have to explain it back to their race engineers. Another V-Cub go to reset, this time Leoland. Wasn't as successful as his teammate though into the 3rd sector. He thought he tried to catch Jan out, but unfortunately Jan answered that call.
Yeah, he certainly did. I just don't think these medium tyres are firing up in these cold conditions. The sun looks like it's coming out slightly as Riccardo Benzoni retakes the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix. Angelo not able to close in on those main straights. Seems to be running a lot more downforce, but maybe using a little bit less ERS than our race leaders.
I think that is the situation that he finds himself in at the moment. Interesting, Sergio Sobrino can't manage to get past Kean Gordondorp, even though they do have the tyre differential in their favour. They're on the soft tyres, and actually Tope is about to send one down the inside at the start of Sector 2. Will have to try and swing it around the outside, doesn't have the extra grip, and eventually backs out of the move. But I wonder if we're already seeing the point where the softs are becoming slightly unravelled.
Yeah, and they tend to not do very well in terms of grip around here, around the Dutch Grand Prix. And of course we've seen tyres get very worn. Those clouds have come back over once again. I'm very interested to find out if there is any rain actually coming, or if these guys are doing the legendary 2-stop.
Well, we have heard it discussed in hushed groups behind the paddock and behind the stands. Never have we seen it happen in an actual F1 esports race. We'll see what the situation is going to be in the next few laps, because if they are going for that illustrious 2-stop strategy, we will be expecting it in the next few laps. Luca Rapassa, taking up the top step of the championship, the race rather. Sergio Sobrino and Kean Gordondorp both getting past Tope. Tope, though, continuing to fight back that Red Bull that stands behind him, but I think he had to let Sergio Sobrino go on the softer rubber, and I wonder if this is where they're starting to find their grip again in Sector 1.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take for these mediums to really fire up and start being a useful tyre for these guys that have decided to run them. But they must be running them for a reason. If they all thought rain was going to come down early, they would have all gone softs. But maybe they all wanted to have a little bit of an alternate strategy. Of course, it only works out if the rain is going to be a lot longer than these drivers think. Absolutely
right. We'll see how our drivers manage through this. But look at the gap that's pulled between Sergio Sobrino and Tudor. The front four have well and truly checked out. 1.5 seconds. You can see a distinct gap on the track map between our front and back packs as things stand. There's a small gap between Leoland and Jan at the moment, but I think that's still within that 1 second margin. Our front quartet now have an opportunity to run away with this race, providing that we don't see a safety car.
Yeah, certainly so. Oh, as Angelo's almost gone right into the back of his teammate. That could have been a bit tragic indeed. As Tudor has closed in on this fight, and Tudor, well, I mean, is he going to be a little bit of a, as I like to call, the disruptor?
I think that is definitely a possibility, and I thought I just saw rain for about half a second there, but I think it is my eyes just playing tricks on me, unfortunately.
It's sweat.
It is just sweat. It's sweaty in this commentary box.
It is. It's hot. We should get the air conditioning fixed in here.
Yeah, it's been broken for years.
Yeah, I don't know why. James JGM refused to pay for it. Sorry, that joke's died very quickly. As Tudor is closing in on Angelo here. I mean, is Angelo want to get past his teammate here? This is the question. Because if he thinks he can have a run at Riccardo Benzoni, he doesn't want to get stuck behind Luca. But Luca's, again, very quick. He's not a slow driver. This isn't a Barrichello Schumacher situation.
No, not at all. They can try and work together, the two Mercedes. Of course, they can't let Riccardo Benzoni try and pull away in this situation. 5.5 tenths there for a very split second. And Angelo, once again, very close to the rear of his teammate. His teammate thought about a move down the inside. Sergio Sabrino has made a move on Tope. Tope then getting sent down the inside by Keane Gordondorp, and I think Harvey Cohen wants to try and join the party. He was wheel to wheel for about half a second trying to swing on around the outside, but rightfully and correctly so, just backed out of that opportunity. Angelo Tortenzio now once again within a tenth of his teammate. That front wing must almost be lodged in the rear gearbox of his teammate.
Yeah, and it looked interesting there. It looked like Angelo was thinking, oh, I'm going to pass you here. And Luca pulled to the right-hand side to say, no, let's work together to get him. And maybe Angelo's like, well, yeah, we can work together, but I think I've got a chance here. And obviously, he's fighting for the championship. Right now, there's, 2 points separating them, if our math is correct. And I'm going to see how this goes. But you can see them already struggling, TK, on their sides. You see their rear ends slipping out in the acceleration zones.
Yeah, the rear end's just getting a little bit squirrely in this situation. The question will be, are we going to see them pit, or are we expecting rain? I mean, we still had no engineers in the chat, which is actually fascinating. We've had no one yell at us for tyres quite yet, which it doesn't feel like a PSGL stream until that happens.
Yeah, get your bingo cards out, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't had someone ask us for the tyres strats at the moment, but there we go. Luca Rapassa is going to take the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix once again. Keane Gordondorp is going to get past Sergio Sabrino. As you said, TK, have those medium tyres finally found their operating window here this afternoon, or are the softs just struggling for grip on this, well, on this very overcast day here at the Dutch Grand Prix. No rain on the horizon just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some in this race. This is the battle. This is the championship fight between these two, Riccardo Benzoni and Angelo Desenzio. Who is going to win the championship at the end of the season? Well, a move here would definitely help them in their running for that championship, but it's still, 4 rounds to go after we finish here in Zandvoort with Jeddah coming up next, and then obviously the 3 final rounds of the season. But Angelo wants to get past his teammate.
Well, Angelo not only wants to get past his teammate, he wants to try and pip out Riccardo Benzoni, of course, the driver that is in the lead of our Drivers' Championship. And look how close he has been to the Haas that stands in front of him through lap 9, and on to lap 10 will go. We're approaching third race distance already. Yes, that's how quick it's been around here at Zandvoort, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a move from Angelo Tortenzio try and join his teammate. Riccardo Benzoni goes towards the outside. Angelo Tortenzio wants to follow him through, but he's not gone for the overtake here. He's happy just to sit in behind.
Yeah, he doesn't need to make that pass, because he's going to get another dosage of DRS, and of course Riccardo Benzoni will not get that same privilege. So there's definitely a chance here that Angelo can just make that move stick. Luca Rapassa kind of used as the slipstream there, the slingshot, to allow his teammate and of course the race leader now into first place. Now don't count out Tudor, because he's right up behind Luca Rapassa here, who seems to be struggling a bit more than his teammate does.
Not only is he right behind Luca Rapassa, he's got full battery charge as well. You can see that just on his steering wheel at the bottom of your screens. He's able to try and charge, well, he has been able to try and charge his battery, and the question is, if not when, is he going to send a move against the driver that stands in front of him? I mean, is he even going to wait for a move on Luca Rapassa? Is he happy to sit in behind at the moment, because the gap to Keane Gordondorp hasn't lowered over the course of the last 2 or 3 laps? He's quite happy just to sit there, charge his battery, wait this out, and wait for the front 3 maybe to go a little bit over the top when battling, and they really reap the rewards in the second half of this race. Angelo Tortenzio does take the race lead though, away from Riccardo Benzoni in towards turn number 1. Nice easy move in the end for the Veloce Academy driver.
Yeah, very nice move indeed, as he's now leading the Dutch Grand Prix, but of course a long way to go. They're on lap 11 already though of 36 TK. This race is absolutely flying past. The Dutch Grand Prix does not last very long. It is a short circuit, and with the amount of grip these Formula 1 cars have nowadays, it is so easy to let the laps just slip away. But of course, these guys on the front four are on those soft tyres. They will be dropping off sooner rather than later. There is still no rain in sight. Are they holding out for a one-stop and going mediums, or is there rain on the horizon? We just don't know.
That's the ultimate question. The cloud cover is still increasingly thicker. You can see it above our heads. Softs are well and truly going off, but the gap between Kian, that's the one we're watching. It continues to extend in this situation. Our front quartet are still running away, and I don't know if there's any sign of them being caught unless we start to see those pit stops in the next few laps, and that will really set the benchmark for how long we're expecting some of the mediums to try and go. Another lap, they're not in towards the pit lane. Another lap where Riccardo Benzoni swoops down the inside, takes the race lead, as Angelo Tortenzio, I think, opened the door for him.
Now, the question is, TK, I think someone's just saying in chat, of course, that the softs are going off. If there is no rain coming, but if there's still a threat of rain in the air, who are you going to be brave enough to make that pit stop? Because if you pit for a new set of dry tyres and then the rain comes down, you're going to look like an idiot.
You are, and you really have to try and judge your engineer right. Your engineer you have to trust your engineer in this sort of situation, because they will know what's coming. They'll have basically the weather radar up. They'll know when the rain's kind of expected on the track, but it's not only that. You have to know when the weather's going to change enough for it to become, say, intermediate conditions compared to full wet conditions, of course, compared to even slick conditions as well. It's a real balance, and we're being told rain at the end of the race.
Rain at the end of the race. So, with rain at the end of the race, now, is it going to come down hard enough to affect it? That is very nice of Matteo to say. Greg saying there's nothing on the telemetry. So, engineers getting slightly different readings here, TK. Now, of course, a safety car could change the readings indeed, because, of course, a safety car will extend the length of the Grand Prix, causing our rain to come down a lot sooner than they'd expect.
I think Matteo might have been pulling our leg there slightly, as he says, I'm seeing right now a massive tsunami about to hit Zandvoort. I'm going to trust Greg then and say that there's nothing on the telemetry, no rain expected in this race. So I think we are just going to see the one-stop soft to medium, potentially to see this race out. So the crucial bit of information will be looking after these soft tyres, because you'll go probably about 17 or 18 laps on them. I wouldn't be surprised if we see pretty much an equal 50-50 split.
Yeah, certainly so. Now, that is the interesting choice here, TK, because if you remember correctly, we saw this strategy play out similarly in Silverstone last week, and I believe, if my memory serves correct, the guys that went soft-medium were the winners in the end.
I thought it was the other way round.
Was it the other way around? I couldn't remember which way around it was, but either way, the alternate strategy could be the one to go for here. Kian Gordendorp may have played a blinder.
I think he could have. You never know. See what's about to happen. I think Kian Gordendorp could be in a confident position. Tudor, though, is into the pit lane, as is Sergio Sobrino, early off the softer rubber.
Aggressive undercut there from one of our top four. Now, that is a very interesting thing. That's going to open some eyes down at the Mercedes and half pit walls, I'm sure. Now, the question is, DK, the Mercedes are tight ups against each other. They have not got any room to breathe. One of them's going to have to sacrifice themselves and make that pit stop a lap later than they may want to.
Well, that's the question, and they will have to try and hold off potentially for some of these conditions. Who's going to take the undercut? I mean, if you're favouring anyone at the moment, Angelo Tortenzio surely gets to command this race because he's the lead driver out of the two, but maybe Luca Rapassa will try and sneak one down the inside if he sees his teammate not pit. Who knows what's going to happen? Being told we've been raided on Twitch. Thank you very much. No idea who's coming. I can't see the panel, but thank you very much and welcome in to PCF2.
Very much indeed. Thank you very much. But yeah, the interesting thing here as we are on lap 14 of 36, any of these front three going to pit? They've got to, TK, because if Tudor gets any sort of massive amount of grip, and one of them is Luca Rapassa is going to be the one that pits, so he's going first. No advantage down at Mercedes this afternoon. Rapassa says, I'm covering him off.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move from Luca Rapassa. Get the tyres on, maybe go for the potential undercut when he saw his teammate wasn't going in towards the pit lane. Pixelette, there we go. Thank you for the raid, and thank you, Victoria, for letting us know who it was that came in. We hope you enjoy all the action here in PCF2, because it is just about to spice things up with the pit stops.
Oh, Tudor got him. Tudor got him. Tudor is now in front of Luca Rapassa. Now, obviously, that is the undercut working in play. If you don't know what the undercut is, you pit before your rivals, you use your new tyres on your outlap, and you gain the time that you lost making that pit stop. But the question is, TK, are the leaders going to suffer the same fate?
Well, that is going to be the interesting one to see. Of course, they'll have the advantage necessarily at the end of this race. They'll have 1 lap fresher tyres. In this case, 2 lap fresher tyres to some of the other drivers that pitted 2 laps ago. But you've really got to hold on to how much life you can keep in them and really pay off the dividends that you've trying to hold on to at the end of the Grand Prix. We're seeing both these drivers pulling off, and they are in. Let's see where they're going to come out once the pit stops are completed.
Certainly will. They are in the pits, so our medium runners carry on the race. Kean Gordon's up now, your Grand Prix leader here this afternoon. He leads on those medium tyres. So where are Riccardo Benzoni? They're both going onto the medium tyres. Angelo D'Asensio is in front of him on the pit stop phase, but where are Tudor? Where are the Mercedes? As it looks like the Mercedes and Luca Rapassa has got him, but he's also got the lead of the Grand Prix. Oh, well, the net lead of the Grand Prix, because he is now into 11th place, which, of course, as we mentioned, is net race lead, because everyone in front of Rapassa has yet to pit. Tudor had made it work, the undercut, but he still ended up behind Rapassa, but they both ended up in front of the 2 championship contenders.
Certainly have indeed. 9.9 seconds is the differential to the drivers in front of them. That's nowhere near enough for a pit stop round here at Zandvoort. So I think they've got an almighty sort of opportunity to run through this race. They just have to try and minimise mistakes. And if they pitted on lap 15, we're expecting the other tyres to probably go to about lap 24, 25 until we see the medium runners pitting off. We are going to have a split grid for probably the next 10 or so laps. And it's going to be interesting to see what our drivers now do to try and cut off any potential chances, as both Top 8 and Jan get past Kean Gordondorp to take the race lead away and take P2 away whilst they're at it.
Now, the interesting thing here, TK, is both Williams have decided to go for the medium tyres. Now, there is quite a bit of a gap between them now, but I find it interesting that they didn't decide to split the strategies as Tudor goes in front of Luca Rapassa. Usually, you want to split your strategies over your 2 drivers, and obviously, no, it's not really a team championship here in PSGL, but surely they'd still be communicating with them. I'm just surprised one of them didn't take that risk.
I wonder if it's an interesting scenario. As you said, there's no team championship in PSGL, but you've got to think of the overarching theme here in let's just say the lower tiers compared to PCF1. You're trying to impress those teams. You're trying to impress the esports teams, get a seat. And if you can show that you can work together well with your teammate, albeit if they're not necessarily working together towards a team championship, that pays dividends to your future.
Yeah, it certainly does. You want to make sure you impress the teams that are looking further down so that you can move further up. But for our net race leaders, it is Tudor who leads Luca Rapassa, who leads Angelo D'Asensio, who's just hit the back of his teammate. A little bit of a tap in the rear, nothing more than that, TK, just letting him know he's there. Angelo, a little bit impatient this afternoon to get a move on here, because he knows he's got his championship rival breathing down his neck, and his championship rival's teammate also breathing down his neck. But here we go, racing into the first corner. Tudor loses not 1, not 2, but maybe 3 places on that main pit straight, and they're going to be into a Mercedes 1-2 with a hats in behind. I've seen this one before. Tudor finds themselves in 13th place, which is, of course, net P4.
All this battling going on, they must remember they've still got over half the Grand Prix to go. On lap 18, we're pretty much at the end. Well, we're exactly at the middle point once this lap is completed, and that's the important thing. Once this lap is finished, they can't guarantee how much more they've got to go this race. They've got to really think about the longevity of their situation. All the battling's going to be doing is really hampering their tyres' future, hampering how well they're going to perform at the late 30s laps, and really pay into the favour of the drivers that started on the mediums, can go hell for leather on the softs, and really try and work their way back through the field. I mean, should there be a safety car?
Should there be a safety car? We now know there's not going to be any rain, unless, of course, there was a double bluff by one of our engineers in chat, but I'm pretty sure he was just doing a little bit of trolling, as they say. As Nelson Alves jumps into 5th, Top 8 takes the lead of the Grand Prix. It's going to be a very interesting close finish. Angelo now goes in front of his teammate, And Riccardo Benzoni is under pressure from Tudor here. Is Tudor going to fire it all the way around the outside? Surely not. No, not on this occasion, because Harvey Cohen is also in behind. I mean, Harvey's joined this fight as well.
He certainly has. He's pulled up. He's tried to get involved, and now we have a double team of both Mercedes and Haas. The V-Cup looking rather lonely as his teammate in Leo Lund still within the top 4, and I think that could leave him rather helpless here. If Riccardo Benzoni and Harvey Cohen can work together, and of course Angelo and Luca have been working together, I think Tudor could be rather shoved out of this front quartet rather swiftly. Down the inside though goes Gabriel Quintino out of absolutely nowhere, and he hasn't been able to make the move stick, but just reminding Sergio Sobrino that he is certainly in his mirrors.
Yeah, Sergio Sobrino and Gabriel Quinton is also very close to this fight as well. It's going to be an interesting one towards the end of this Grand Prix. We're on to lap 20 of 36. We expect the medium runners in lap 25, we reckon, TK. Well, we say that. Sixton has decided it's going to be lap 20.
That's a very early call from himself. And actually, I was thinking about lap 21.20. That's probably what I'm on at. I didn't mean 25. Because we saw them go more than 11 laps. My apologies. That's my bad mental maths coming in there.
Yes, I won't take the blame for that one. So Sixton is in. He's going on the soft tyres now. Now, of course, he's going to have the extra grip. He's going to have the extra pace. But he's making up that time. Now, we know in this year's game, I'm sure we mention it every stream, and you're bored of us mentioning it, but soft slipstream, DRS, is the most important thing in this year's game. And if you do not have DRS and if you do not have slipstream, it is very, very difficult to catch.
They certainly are. It's interesting to note how far back both Lillian and Sixton Linthart have actually come out compared to our runners that pitted a few moments ago. I mean, they're over 7 seconds behind where our front runners essentially ended up. And yes, they've got the faster tyre, but with a lap so short like we see here in Zandvoort, I don't think they have that many opportunities to maybe make a send like we saw in Great Britain.
Yeah, and I think the thing in Great Britain as well, as we mentioned, obviously we had safety cars as well, and we had incidents, but I don't think you've got the time to make up on this circuit. You really need that safety car to come out, and I think, unfortunately, this time the ultimate strategy is not going to want the payoff. Riccardo Benzoni is going to go for it on Luca Rapassa. I think Luca trying to do a little bit of the team game and try and defend for his teammate Angelo D'Asensio, who is currently in 8th place, which is, as we mentioned, net race lead. But the top 7, are still yet to pit. We had a couple more pitties in that lap, which was Keanu Linhart, who's now come out in 18th place, just under a second behind Sixton Linhart there, who's in 17th. And Lillian is now in front of Tiers Korsman, who's, well, I think, as we can probably see, had a bit of a horrendous Grand Prix this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going to make the assumption that I think he got wing damage at some point in this race. That would be my only assumption as to why he's so far down the order. I can't see a pit stop dropping him that far back when he was already running in amongst the field and has had an opportunity to try and maybe pull back through. But who knows what could have happened to Tiers Korsman. I wish we could get a chat with him and see exactly what went on. But Jan is going to make a move here for the race lead. No, we're not. It's going to be 3 drivers in towards the pit lane. Leo Lund stays out. And this is going to be the battle of the pit stops. Who's going to be able to get it done nice and quickly? Top A's in for the Williams team. Nelson Alves stays out to take the bullet of the extra lap. Daniel follows him. Our front 3 are now determined. Leo Lund, Daniel and Nelson. Riccardo Benzoni taking our net race lead away, and he's only 4.5 seconds behind of Daniel and Nelson. He's only 7 seconds back from Leo Lund.
He certainly is, but this is the interesting fight now. So your top 10 right now are all going towards the end of the race. Tiers Korsman in 11th. Little bit of the cork in the bottle between basically everyone that's made the ultimate strategy and everyone that hasn't. The top 3, as you mentioned, yet to pit in this Grand Prix. Nelson Alves, as you said, take the hit on the thing, but it's just a bit another race where it's just not gone well for him.
It hasn't been one to write home about. Of course, he looked very strong in PCF3 this time last season. I mean, he was one of the runners that you could almost bank on having consistency in terms of race weekends and potentially heading up on their podium. Maybe the step up to F2 hasn't been what he needed this season. Maybe he hasn't quite found the pace. Maybe it could even be I know school and everything like that has exams around this time of year, so maybe his focus has just been elsewhere, which is absolutely acceptable, and I respect anyone that can both race and study at the same time.
Certainly, for sure. And you can see it did start well at the start of the season. It's just dropped off, and maybe, as you said, maybe stuff going on in real life. Real life always takes first priority in sim racing. So let us recap now that everyone has made their pit stops. From first down to seventh, it is the guys that went soft to medium, and they are still leading the rest of the pack by 7 seconds. Yes, 7 seconds. Lillian down to Nelson Alves, all on brand new tyres, all done the alternate strategy, but they are not catching. The only one out of the Lucas Tiers Causeway, we've mentioned how his race has gone, still finds himself in the top 10, which is surprising, but I don't know how long that will last. TK, 7.5 seconds without a safety car. I don't see that being caught.
I can't see it being caught, but also you've got to bear in mind, if there is a safety car, surely these front 7 dive into the pit lane. That 7 seconds could just be enough for fresh sauce. Yes, we'd have the situation temporarily reversed. Of course, the drivers will have the opportunity to try and go again. One driver we're talking about, King Gordondorp, all the way down to P13, hasn't had a great race from where he once started, of course, down 11 positions in the course of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, my race win prediction has not gone very well from this afternoon. As Sixten Linhart finds himself up in 8th place ahead of Lillian. So he'll be trying to make his charge now onto the top 7. Jan down in 10th place, also trying to get past the McLaren, who's on, a different sort of alternate strategy. They also went soft medium, but pitted a lot later on the medium tyres, and that's just not worked for them at all.
No, it hasn't at all, and I think they've got an almighty deficit to try and overcome. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. The only situation which I do see them maybe pulling off a miracle here is being half a second quicker over the course of a singular lap for every single lap until the final lap. And of course, that's just a catch. That's not even to overtake some of the drivers.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. I'm surprised they've gone with the soft medium and not run with the rest of the pack. But they did start further down than the rest of them would have liked, so maybe they thought they'd be out of the system. But anyway, that is chalk and cheese at the moment as we pay attention to our race leaders who keep swapping and changing. Obviously, this doesn't matter, the swapping and changing right now, TK. It matters, as you said a couple of laps ago, who leads and who wins on lap 36. As we got, a 3-wide moment going into the first corner. Sixten got absolutely swallowed up. The DRS is using its job. We've got basically a 4-wide moment into that first corner. They've all made it through unscathed as Sixten has launched one down the inside. The inside becomes the outside for the next corner as Sixten now is down into 11th place. That's the DRS in full effect. And all of that squabbling to the first corner lost them, 3/10 on the leading pack.
It certainly did. It's not been helping over the grand course of things. We're seeing time and time again that all the battling going on in the lower field. Yes, drivers want to try and make positions. Yes, they want to try and get up amongst this lead pack, but they have to work together. That's what's so crucial in a situation like this. You can see how much of a difference there is on the track map at the bottom right-hand side of your screens. I mean, it's almost half a sector. This is absolutely incredible how far apart our two runners are, but the gap has now come down by about a second in the course of the 10th. I think Jan is making a bit of a breakaway here.
A little bit of breakaway. He's on 3-lap-old soft tyres, so he's got the youngest set of these softs. And can he start to close in? Of course, he's actually got a little bit of a gap as well, as you mentioned, TK, to not get overtaken by DRS. But you see, it's already dropped down to 7 seconds, down that one main straight. Without that DRS, it's just not working as well, as Lillian loses another place. That strategy has not worked for McLaren this afternoon, as they fall down to 11th. Obviously, the only McLaren driver racing this evening as well. 6.7 seconds. They still can't see them, but even though it's a short circuit, it's not going to work. Yeah, I just don't think it's going to work out for these soft runners. Still 10 laps to go, anything can happen, and usually does here in motorsport, but unfortunately, I don't think these alternate strategies is going to work. So we're going to keep an eye on our top 3 racers, and Riccardo Benzoni has been leading for a few laps, but he knows in the back of his mind that it could just be a last lap overtake and a DRS pass into the first corner as Kean Gordondorp gets in front of Lillian as well, who's just continuing to drop places.
Yeah, it's not been the best race for Lillian or Leo Lund. Leo Lund trying to make a move there, but Angelo Crescenzio in towards the first corner. I think this is where drivers probably for the one time over the course of this circuit get to take a peek at one another. You can see them coming around turn 14. You can see the rest of the field, up the field, turn number 1. Not the most inviting invitation that you'll ever see. But I think Toppe is now trying to make a breakaway. He's pulled over to P8, and the gap has started to settle down. I think the drivers have learned to work together. I think as the soft tyres have also started to fire up that extra little bit.
Yeah, they certainly have, and I think those softs may just be starting to work out as they start to close in on those front runners. But I think they're going to run out of laps, TK.
I think they are going to. I think it's going to be an interesting one to see how close they can get. I mean, the gap now under 6 seconds by the barest of margins, but I don't think it's going to be enough in the course of this Grand Prix. We're entering lap 28. We've got 8 laps to go in the course of this Grand Prix. I can't see them getting the race caught.
No, I don't think they can. 5.6 seconds. Unless those mediums hit an absolute cliff, I think the top 7 have made that strategy work. They can just see them in the distance now, TK. They're on the same bit of tarmac, but it's not working, even with the DRS swapping that Jan and Tope are doing. I don't think it's going to be enough. They were squabbling too much at the start. They can't make this work now.
I don't know. There's still a little bit of faith, but it's incredibly close in the margins. Then I think they can rule out the race win unless we see a safety car here. That could change the whole field of everything. We didn't have one last week in Silverstone. I don't think we had one the week before that even. So anything can happen in the course of these races. But of course, you've got to remind yourself, 5.4 seconds with a decreasing number of laps, with how short Zandvoort actually is when you consider the fundamentals. I mean, it's a close one. I can't see them getting a podium, though.
No, I can't see them getting a podium. I can't see them getting the race win, definitely. 5 seconds now is the gap, so it is coming down, but not coming down quick enough at the moment.
It'll be interesting to see how close the drivers are as we round the final quarter on board with Jan, see where he can spot the rest of the drivers. I think he's going to be around just after the pit straight as they come crest over the hill. It's Riccardo Benzoni who loses out the race. You can just see them in the distance taking turn 1 there. And that's incredible to see how close our drivers are once again on this field. But all the battling, as you said, not helping any of our drivers. Leoland past 6 and Lintar. Daniel and Chiaro having good battle further back as the Kick Sauber just manages to pip out the Scuderia Ferrari. Both them powered, of course, by the Ferrari engines. I think I saw a little bit of damage there for Chiaro. I do. Front right end plate missing.
Well, that is definitely not going to be helping them at all, is it? That's not going to be helping them at all. Down in, 16th place right now. It's definitely not been a race for the Ferraris this afternoon. They'll be hoping for a bounce back in Jeddah. 4.6 seconds the gap now, TK. We've got 7 laps to go. It is not impossible for them maybe to get 7th or 6th. Could be a last lap charge for the top 4, but it's going to be very close indeed.
It certainly is indeed. It could be an interesting turn of events as we enter on to lap 30. That counts down with 7 to go here in this Grand Prix. And we've seen trials, we've seen tribulations, and we've seen just a little bit of chaos. Not too much, it's been rather controlled, so congratulations to all of our drivers. Riccardo Benzoni takes the race lead once again away from Angelo Tortenzio. Jan gets past Tope in towards turn number 1. That gap now 4.5 seconds with 7 to go, Alex. I don't know. That could be getting increasingly more likely.
Yeah, I mean, it's closing in. I think the engineers on those medium tyres may be slightly, biting their nails. How many nails will they have by the end of the Grand Prix? We're going to find out. But it is closing in. 6 laps to go, 4 seconds. I'm interested to see what this is going to be.
Get your predictions in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Where do you think this race win is going to be going? Will it go to one of our top 7? Will it go to some of our chasing peloton? Who is to know in the course of this Grand Prix? We'll let you know in just over 6 laps time. My early prediction, I think, was on Luca Rapassa. I'm sticking with that initial prediction, Alex. Are you sticking with yours?
With King Gordondorp? I'm going to say no, unless some miracle happens. I'm going to... You know what? I'm going to say Tudor.
Oh, bold call. Bold call indeed. Tudor and Luca Rapassa, the 2 guesses up here in the commentary box. We've already got Riccardo Benzoni getting 1 vote over on Twitch. Let us know whether you're watching either on YouTube or the Twitch in their respective live chats. Let us know who you're rooting for and who you're respecting to race in these situations. And we're not allowing teams because that would be rather jammy at this moment in time.
3.6 seconds, TK. They could smell them. They could smell them in the distance. They could see their rear gearboxes coming up towards their vision. But they're still a couple of corners away from them at all times.
They are. The question as well, how much ERS, how much battery they're going to have in the later stage of this race. The camera on our screens can now pick up both packs at the same time, at least the front of this chasing peloton. You can see the rear of the lead train there heading in towards the third and final sector. I think this is only helping the Williams of Tope. He can see who he's chasing down. That hunger is being reinvigorated every single twist and turn that he's making, and he wants to get this race lead. He wants to try and take it, because if he catches up in the next couple of laps, boy, I think he could be on to an absolute winner. Riccardo Benzoni takes the race lead away from Angelo D'Ortenzio in towards turn number 1. Jan gets past Tope as those two continue to work together in this chase pack.
They're going to have to. They know those medium tyres are going to start going off very soon. They may be already hitting some sort of cliff. They've been on for almost 18 laps, almost 20 laps for some of those drivers. And it's going to be so close at the end of this Grand Prix. 2.8 seconds is the gap to this soft pack and our medium runners at the lead. At one point, it looked an impossible gap to gain, but now on lap 32, the impossible is becoming possible, but it's still going to be close. 2.9 seconds, 2.8 seconds. It's coming down every single corner. I wonder if these medium tyre runners have started to realise, are they on their way up here, and are we going to be in trouble?
I think that is the worry that they might be feeling. We enter on to lap 33, 4 laps to go. Nathan Richards' early prediction, he doesn't think it's possible, but I think they're so close now. They're going to be reinvigorated with every twist and turn. The softs, I think, might just be holding on, but as you said, they will start to die as we head down towards turn number 1. Angelo takes the race lead away from Riccardo Benzoni. We enter lap 33, 4 to go, ladies and gentlemen, and just over 12 miles of racing.
And Leo Lund sent it down the inside, and he hasn't thought about it. They're not thinking about it now, TK, and it's cost Tope. Tope down to 11, and they've decided to fight because Leo Lund saw an opportunity, and that's definitely any opportunity of catching the leaders gone.
Well, that was a bit of a crazy move from Leo Lund. I think he thought about his own race more than the rest of the fields there. Now, surely, as you said, they're not going to catch that time. That was about 2.5 seconds at one point. 3.5 seconds now. Surely that gap, that opportunity to try and catch this lead pack well and truly out the window. I think a few drivers may be furious at the Veloce Academy driver of Leo Lund.
Well, that's definitely cost any chance of our soft runners getting to the leaders. It's cost Tope big as well, because he thought he might be able to get them. But it doesn't matter, as put in the chat there, it doesn't matter now, because all matters now is our medium runners can keep those tyres together and keep them in their positions to cross the line.
Exactly that. Jan still 3.2 seconds behind. We enter on to lap 34. 3 to go in this Grand Prix. Riccardo Benzoni taking away the race lead as we head on towards this lap. Leo Lund once again going for a send down the back straight. This time a little bit smarter, a little bit fairer in his play. King Gordonop and Tope just holding on. Jan will concede down to P11. And we've got a breakaway pack of this quartet now trying to make a late charge. I think, as we said, too little, too late after the desperate moves from Leo Lund.
Yeah, it certainly is a little bit desperate, and I think maybe he thought that they were running out of laps and thought, oh, we're not going to get him now. But I think they would have got him, or they would have got at least into that DRS. Desperation incoming. I think the desperation moves are going to come because we are about to head on to our penultimate lap. Lap 35 of 36 is coming up. Riccardo Benzoni is the man that leads at the moment, TK. And is he dumping a little bit of battery to try and pull away from Angelo D'Ortenzio, or is he knowing that this is going to be the opportunity to let him pass and use that DRS on the last lap?
That's going to be the question on his mind. Is he going to allow Angelo D'Ortenzio back? Oh, massive snap out of turn 13. Rear end looking as wobbly as wet spaghetti, but Angelo now has an opportunity to take the race lead away. He's going to do so round the outside. Are we going to see 3 wide as the other Mercedes of Luca Rapassa tries to get involved down the inside line of Riccardo Benzoni? He's just forced wide. The door well and truly slammed in the Mercedes face, but now Angelo leads and Riccardo has pretty much all the cards in his hand. They're all equal on battery. They've been charging it for the last few laps and the DRS looking so short. This could be an interesting finish to this Grand Prix.
Yeah, they knew that this is what it was going to be. They knew that it was going to end this way. If the soft runners didn't get to them, this is the fight we were going to have on our hands. And we are going for one more lap around the Dutch Grand Prix circuit. We are on lap 35 of 36. and which one of them is going to win this Grand Prix. Is it going to be Angelo? Is it going to be Ricardo? Is it going to be Luca? Is it going to be Tudor? Is it going to be Harvey Cohen? Is it going to be Sergio Sabrina? Or is it going to be Gabriel Quinton? It could be any of our top 7, because if any of these sort of collide, any penalties that come up, it could all end in tears for a few drivers. And so here we go, the final lap of this Grand Prix. It is Riccardo Benzoni who's got surely the best chance here, but look at the speed that Luca Rapassa has. He's closing in, and it's been forced to the inside, and Angelo is going to try and hold it on the inside, but there isn't the acceleration that he needs, and Riccardo Benzoni takes the lead in the Dutch Grand Prix, and there's only a few miles left for Angelo to try and find a place to overtake, but TK, it's not possible to overtake in this middle sector, is it?
Well, you never say never in the course of this Grand Prix. You have an opportunity in towards the third sector. I think Luca Rapassa thought about it for half a second there, but had to back out. Just not able to try and catch his teammate. He'll have to try and get 1, if not 2, if he wants to try and get this race lead. Angelo Totenzio in a great position if he wants to try and catch up. Drifting and sliding going on from the car of Riccardo Benzoni. Luca Rapassa thought about the inside line, the shorter track, for his opportunity. DRS wing open on both Mercedes cars. Are they going to look for a move in towards the third sector? No, they're heavy on the brakes. But now the question, who's going to be? Who's got the better straight line speed? Through turns 13, through turns 14 to finish off this Grand Prix in PCF2. Surely we're not going to see a move down towards the line. It's a long run down. Angelo Totenzio right on the back of Riccardo Benzoni up towards the line. Riccardo Benzoni gets the win by 17 thousandths of a second. Incredibly close, but just managing to hold on.
Oh my goodness, the line needed to be a little bit further down, and he would have won the Grand Prix. But Riccardo Benzoni won pole position, and now he's won the Grand Prix here in the Netherlands. Angelo just missing out on that victory. Well, what a Grand Prix we have just seen here in PCF2.
What an end to a Grand Prix we've just seen here in PCF2. Wow, that was a drag race down towards the line, and it was all based on straight line speed. I think if the setup of Angelo Totenzio maybe favoured straight line speed a little bit more, that could have been a different story we're telling here at the end of the race. But 2 Italians and a Dutchman on the top step of your podium this afternoon. Don't think anyone around these parts will be complaining at that. Riccardo Benzoni makes it a top step for Haas. The 2 Veloce Academy drivers, Angelo Totenzio and Luca Rapassa, joining him on the podium. Tudor down in P4. Harvey Cohen, Sergio Sabrino, Gabriel Quintino, Kian Gordondorp, Tope and Jan making up your top 10. Leo Lund, Daniel, Liam Stevens, who also gets the fastest lap of the race. Sixten Linthart, Nelson Alves, Lillian Keanu and Tias Korsman, rounding out your top 18 and all your finishes from this afternoon's endeavours.
Another bad weekend for Williams overall as well. Just not performing the same as they started the season. But what a victory we have just seen from Riccardo Benzoni. Angelo finishing, of course, in second place. The Mercedes go second and third as we head into the final round before the winter break, which of course will be Saudi Arabia next week. I will find out if anyone wants any interviews, TK. If not, we will then call an end for PCF2, but I will just quickly add some people to see if they are ready.
Exactly. Fantastic race, at least from our perspective. I was very happy with what we saw. I think a few of the drivers saying it was a rather boring race. I think talk about that for the final lap, or at least the final corner. What invigorating action we well and truly saw. For me, I think that was a fairly good race all round.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I personally enjoyed it. I always like watching cars go around Zandvoort. It's just a fantastic circuit, in my opinion. I just love it. The way it looks and the way it flows is just fantastic.
Yeah, I absolutely adore it. I absolutely adore all the chaos, all the carnage. And I wonder if we're hopefully going to get a few drivers in for interviews. Who knows?
Yes, I just said that they're welcome to come in for interviews, but that's not required if they don't feel up to it.
Which tends to be they don't feel up to it, unfortunately.
Yes, but I thought I'd say the diplomatic way.
We'll give them a couple of moments' time. But let's look ahead to the final quarter of the calendar. And we'll go back and remind ourselves of how that does indeed look. We head to Saudi Arabia next week out. At least you guys do. Myself and Alex, unfortunately, will not be joining you. Hence why we've donned the Santa hats for this afternoon's festivities. Japan, Las Vegas and Bahrain to finish off the season when we join ourselves once again come January to finish off the season in Bahrain. And who knows, we might be challenging, or we might be crowning another PCF2 champion, because of course the battle was so close to getting. We can look at the standings as they went in towards this race. Riccardo Benzoni will extend that lead over Angelo Tortenzio, and of course Angelo will have been so gutted that he didn't get that race win.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do now for it, but he certainly can gain that time back. Now, we're going to have one interview. Unfortunately, Riccardo Benzoni and Angelo Descencio do not want interviews, which is totally fine. We are just waiting on Luca Rapassa to jump in, and we'll have interview with the third place finisher when he's ready. So hopefully he'll be jumping into the waiting room in a moment's time. But yeah, TK, of course, myself and you are not here next week. So this will be our last interview of before the winter break. Actually, the last interview of 2024 for PSGL. Of course, we'll be going to 2025. And Mr. Luca Rapassa is waiting in the waiting room. So we're going to bring him in, the man who finished in third place, just behind his teammate, but has had an excellent Grand Prix. One to write home about for sure. Luca, congratulations on P3, my friend. Of course, I'm sure you would have liked a little bit more, but it was a good race.
Yeah, it was a decent race. Dropped down over to Kian at the start, then just was working together with Benza and just swapping and stuff, and then I got overtaken by Angelo. Then we decided just to do the undercut so I wouldn't lose positions to the guys that pit even a lap earlier. And then I knew Benza and Angelo would have had better tires, so I was just chilling behind, saving tires. Tried to go for it on lap 35, but it didn't work. So would have liked more, but not too bad.
Not too bad indeed. Of course, the two guys who we're battling with today are obviously first and second in the championship, but you're not too far behind either in those championship standings. I'm sure you've got a chance to win this title this year. Of course, we go into Saudi Arabia next week, and then of course we have our winter break for our final 3 rounds of the season. What is your thoughts about Saudi Arabia? Then, do you feel like it's a track you can do well on?
Yeah, I like Saudi. It's always been a good track for me, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Well, congratulations, mate, on P3, and we may see you on the podium next week as well.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luca. Thank you for joining us, mate. And for an end to our interviews, always love to chat to Luca. He's a very nice man indeed. So TK, that is the end of PCF2 this week. Now, of course, don't be upset that PCF2 is done for this week. Of course, it will be back next week at 8 p.m. Not with myself and TK, but I'm sure Sappy and Omi will jump in once again for F2 action. And then, of course, you can join us on all of our social medias at Premier Sim GL on socials, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and of course you can join our Discord, which you can join in the conversation. And of course, is there any other admin I need to do? Nope, I don't think there's anything other I need to do. So TK, thank you, mate, for running the stream, and of course joining me for commentary once again.
My pleasure as always, and thank you so much for joining me in the commentary box and on a great partnership we've had this season.
Great partnership we've had this season, and of course, a great way to end 2024 for myself and TK. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will not be here next week, but we will see you in 2025 in Japan.
Good night.